I cried twice this week, but I am so productive. We don't really share these tough moments with each other. We share the successes. Everyone is on LinkedIn is like, oh my God, I just got this promotion. Oh my God, I just raised. I'm going to this event and this was amazing. I'm like, tell me the last time you worked until 2 a.m. and then didn't sleep.
I'm Hattie Willis, your host, and each episode I talk to an entrepreneur, investor, or startup expert to unpack their hardest moments, biggest wins, and hard-earned advice so we can shortcut our learnings as founders together.
Today's guest, Ghita and I, is here to answer our questions on two things I know everyone is asking. Number one, how do I choose the right tech stack when there is a new AI tool dropped every 2 minutes? And number two, how do I build a real following on socials to drive my product adoption? So Rita's product, Tech Bible, is here to help us with the first part, choosing our right tech stack. And her Instagram and TikTok growth is what I want to also dive into because she has done exceptionally there, growing an Instagram following of over 160,000 and a TikTok following of over 220,000 exceptionally quickly. So we are going to dive into all of that, plus her journey into entrepreneurship, which is an interesting one. This is actually her second startup. She previously started a company using AR to support the blind and visually impaired. And actually, once she wound that down, she realized that the tech tools and stacks she'd been creating, the questions she'd had while creating that, was something that other founders can benefit from, which is what led her to create the Tech Bible. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. I hope you love it as much as Rita and I enjoyed filming.
Excited to have you on the show.
Me too. I'm excited to be here. This is cute. This is really nice.
We've gone for a cute setup. We've got a great guest. What could go wrong?
Nothing.
Except me being very millennial when I don't understand what you're talking about, but I'm here for it.
Do you not understand TikTok trends?
No.
Oh,
I think this is what we're going to get
How are
into.
we going to communicate?
I know, this is what we're going to get into. Like,
This
you're
is
here
gonna be
to
a
save
problem.
me and our listeners, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Okay, so first I want to start with your founder story because I love to hear how people got into the space. Is it a space you thought you would ever get into? Or is it somewhere you were like, I always want to be an entrepreneur? Talk to us about that.
I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I tried corporate life for a while. I enjoyed it. I made some great connections. It definitely is the reason how I ended up doing what I'm doing today.
Mm-hmm.
But I always knew one day I will do my own thing. I didn't know how or what or where, but here we are.
And what did you think entrepreneurship would be? You went at the point you were wanting it, because we've talked about this. Everyone's like, it's the most glamorous life. Talk to us about expectation versus reality of getting started.
Freedom is the expectation. You're going to be free. You're going to work whenever you want, on whatever you want. That is not the reality of it. You do not get any freedom. You have to work 24/7 because you have clients dependent on you, employees dependent on you, investors on your back. So it's not at all what I imagined at the beginning. You do, at a certain extent, work on things that you want and like, and it's more the mission that you're working on and the bigger picture. But on a day-to-day basis, it's those silly little tasks that you do not want to do, especially admin or management or sometimes product design, and then jumping into development and then going into being a financial analyst, accounting. It's all of these little things that, yes, there are people that you can hire when you hit a certain ARR or MRR that they can handle all of this stuff for you.
Yeah.
But in the early stages, you're doing this yourself. And it is a learning curve. And if you are not curious or someone who just doesn't feel discouraged by these little hiccups of lack of knowledge, and most importantly, that you do not feel like you're an imposter when you are talking to someone who has probably experience in these things, or entrepreneurship is not for you if that's the case. But I find that a lot of the entrepreneurs around me, at least, just learn to become this.
Yeah.
And it's something that you develop, especially when you have a strong mission and you totally believe in it and you're like, I really want to get out there and help people do this amazing thing that I managed to do and build a solution for their problems. Then you just get really into it, and you will find that a lot of people around you will support you heavily.
So with Tech Bible, what is the problem you fell in love with? Was the idea, did it come to you as it is now, or has it adapted and evolved as you've learned by doing?
Yeah. So Tech Bible's mission is to empower professionals and builders like you and me to have a competitive edge in their fields by staying updated on the latest tech, knowing how to adopt it, the latest news, what's trending, and all of that through channels that they already are on, like video content through TikTok, Instagram, and also through our platforms and the technologies that we're building. This mission was not it in the beginning. I started off with my first job as a project manager at this like multinational firm with 40,000 employees. My boss at that time was like, "Hey, Rita, we have all of these really complicated processes and it's slowing us down and we really need to expand. We're going to these other countries, opening up these different branches, but we don't have the technological foundation for it. So why don't you take it?" And I'm like, "Yes, do I get to travel? Oh my God, I am so excited about this." And then I started going department to department and exploring, okay, you really have 10,000 emails a day from all of these employees asking you for their questions about their HR processes. What the hell? Let's just build a ticketing chatbot and you can manage that and people can converse with them on the way. You can have tickets, you can have status, you can see who it was assigned to. That was one of the first projects. And then it was the B2B process. The sales team was using a CRM at that time, but it was really long and most of it was in Excel sheets. I was like, oh my God, let's get Salesforce on board. When I was making the cases to the CEO to invest in these software tools, because they're expensive, on an average, a project was like £80,000 a year for us to adopt that kind of technology for the employees.
And it's also like a massive, once you've implemented it, I mean, you're locked in really as a corporate. So you need it to be good to use.
Exactly. So I was testing like 10, 15 different of the same SaaS tools, just going through them. Do they integrate with this tool? Oh, what's the risk of us adopting this in the future? Can it scale with our operations? Is it easy to use from our employees' perspective? How about our clients' work? So I was doing all of this research across multiple departments, across multiple tech tools. And I was like, how is everyone in every organization doing this at the moment?
Yeah,
Especially this was back in 2017.
Yeah.
So the SaaS tools we had back then, they were very clear. You know, there are some big players and then the startups coming up. But now, every day there's at least like 100 new products that are being launched. And some of them have really good value and some of them are just terrible. But who is out there just gonna test it for you and tell you, I really think this one will do great at this task, but if you combine it with this one and then bundle it with this one, then this is how you do this execution in this task in your field. No one is doing that. And I took on that mission. It's a big mission that scares me at some time. And I often ask for help and have other experts on board who are leaders and influencers in their own field to tell me, yes, this would work. For example, HR tech, this would work for us. But then for a larger organization, that's probably not going to work. And that's how we expand that knowledge and share it through by being super transparent and help each other be more productive.
And I love that you've got this mission and frankly, in the nicest possible way, like it's not the coolest, sexiest space, like comparing.
It's sexy to me, Hattie.
Yeah, look, I'm the person who said once historically car insurance is sexy. So like, I'm not judging, but let's be honest. And I actually do think you're making it really cool. So I guess what I often challenge founders to do, particularly around marketing, is to look at marketing that they love, whether that's in a completely different space. Often I say, if you're doing B2B sales or selling to other businesses, why aren't you looking at what consumer marketing companies are doing and taking leaves out of their book? And I love that you've thought about it from this lens of you're doing a huge amount on TikTok and you're selling to businesses buying software. I think lots of people would think that's not where you should be reaching them. How do you get big? Does anyone care about this? And I think you're really proving that you can carve out this space where you're a different kind of voice and you're doing it in a really fun, playful way. How much did you know, this should be done? Like, where did that come from? Because that's really different.
Yeah. That started with my first startup. So MyFinder, complete different sector. It was in healthcare. It was an iOS AR app for the blind and visually impaired and people with dementia. And we were targeting care homes. We built this technology that was way ahead of its time. It would identify objects and help people with impairment navigate by speaking it out loud. So generative AI, this new type of fake data that we didn't have that at that, and this was 2020. It was there, but we didn't have access to those models, and it would have been expensive. We were just a startup out of uni, like it was not possible. And I was at the beginning saying, how am I going to get users for my app? I did all types of things, direct outreach for the care homes, but then I needed users on the app to test out the technology and get immediate feedback. And when you're dealing with big charitable organizations or the healthcare system, it's just really complicated. So I was like,
super slow.
I'm just going to do it with TikTok. I mean, TikTok was trending at that time. I needed users. They were already on the app. Let's just make content for it. Started making content, got 3,000 users on board, proved our point. We did the Apple and Deutsche Telekom iOS AR innovation, won that, started expanding. We got more funding, and then COVID hit. And I was like, okay, fine. I realized early on that although I can market this and I can build this product and it's a great product, I am not necessarily the end user.
Yeah.
And I could try and put myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
I am not going to solve it as well as someone. And I accidentally, around that time, met someone who had visual impairment, who did his PhD on these technologies. And he was building a competitive product. And he saw mine. He was like, wow, oh my God, you managed to do this in like 3 months? I'm like, yes, let me show you my tech stack and how we actually built it. And he ended up adopting that technology to further his startup. But he knew how to talk to his users because he was the end user. So his testing cycle was a lot smaller. But then, we did it on TikTok, got our users. And then I was like, I'm just going to start talking about what I am using to build these things. And then first video went viral, second went viral. I was like, maybe this channel could be used for a lot more than just me getting my users. I'm actually helping people here and they're asking questions and it's interacting and there's a definite need. And it just went on from there. It took a while for me to figure out the messaging, and I managed to develop different formulas for different sectors. So if it's B2C, they probably already did the work on the copy on their website and their marketing. So it's not very hard to portray the value. Yeah. But then if it's very niche or B2B, okay, let's find a really innovative way to present it so that on average, if you're targeting a company that's like an enterprise company, there has to be at least 50 employees that work for them that are visiting TikTok, and they will stumble upon one of the videos that you're making. And that's awareness just on a different touch point and a different level.
And I remember actually years ago going to San Francisco and thinking about this a lot when we were driving from where we were staying, which was just outside the main city. I remember driving in, every billboard you passed, where you're normally used to billboards being customer focused, they were all business focused because they were like, everyone's driving to work. Everyone here works for a startup. It's the same principle, right? But I don't think we're very good at applying that elsewhere. And you ran a great workshop that I came to, which I've not yet nailed the execution of, by the way, but that's not your fault, that's me.
You're nailing it. Look at this.
It's coming. It's coming. Watch this space / follow our TikTok. But you ran a great workshop on getting started with TikTok. How would you advise startups who, particularly founders who maybe like me, are in that age group where we kind of laughed at everyone who was not on Instagram because we were like, you old people. And now I'm like, but I have to learn another tech tool? I'm too old for this. How would you advise us in terms of getting into this new technology, in terms of thinking about what we need to do differently to be able to grow in this space? And I love that you actually said it took a while to work out, because you talk about actually we went viral quite quickly. I feel like I'm definitely guilty of expecting within 12 posts to be a huge page. I'm like, why are we not TikTok famous yet and rolling in money? So what would be your advice to founders who are thinking, should I be using this marketing channel? And if so, how? And how do I make that achievable when I'm already really stretched?
That's the question I get from every user that I test Tech Bible with. I'm like, well, all technologies that come in require a time to value. And if you are really sure of the value, you will definitely put more effort and more strategic effort to get that value out as soon as possible. But it does require a little bit of education before. And that's what I do with every SaaS tool. So TikTok is just one of the other platforms. Let's not talk about the TikTok as a channel in itself, but the format of that channel is video content. Video content can be used across 4 channels now, right? It can be YouTube Shorts, you can post it on LinkedIn, you can post it on Instagram, and it has the potential to go viral in all 4 platforms. So the channel in itself is not it. It's the process behind and that execution of all of the other tasks that come in before posting on TikTok. So is my messaging straight? Am I communicating my point in a way that's very obvious to my target audience? Does it get their attention? I mean, if I watch this, will it stop me? Am I going to stop and watch this myself? And how is the video quality? Is it good? Does it need to be good? I mean, I just need to be heard. So it doesn't really matter. So, okay, let's scratch that. I can just record from my iPhone. But okay, which angle are they going to be most likely pressed to convert with? Is it, hey, go look at my website? Or maybe I have to develop a freebie and then put it there and then talk about it, because that guides me to the most interested people in my target audience on that channel. So now I did like a filtration process. So it's all that preparation behind that would work in any channel. It's just, how do you get there? And why do you need to get there?
Yeah, I think one of the things you actually showed us in the workshop, which was really helpful and really stuck out to me, was TikTok has like insanely better analytics on what users are finding interesting in your video, which is actually devastating to watch for me, because we've not nailed the formula. But you can look and you can see literally second by second where are users dropping off, and you can see, do we need to do something about the hook? Do we need to change this? And to your point, iterate, test, and then it should in theory perform better on every other channel as well, because you've actually used it to create a formula. And that test and learn approach, I do love that TikTok allows you to do that within the channel as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And of course, it has its own limitations as a platform itself. Hence why now I'm focused heavily on Instagram, and the growth has been insane there as well. And then now it's also long form YouTube. There are a lot of benefits of being on TikTok, but then again, think about it as just another channel for my content. There is a formula for good content in general.
Yeah. What is the formula? Tell us. Quick. Everyone, get your notepads out.
I think we spoke about it at the beginning of the episode when I came in, and I was like, I already have some points that I know are going to be good cuts in Reels.
Yeah.
I see them on the feed and I'm like, oh, people definitely stop for that. So this is not one of them. Good content is entertaining, is relatable. And for me, it's just those 2.
Interesting.
I always put educational, but I always put it with either entertaining or relatable, right? I can teach you about something, but I can do it in a fun way where
so right.
my personality does come off and I'm like,
you're so right.
Hey guys, or I can be relatable and I am talking straight to the person that I know has that problem. One of the last ones that I did it actually in collaboration with Miro, and it's hard to manage all of the different touch points with a team, especially in a meeting, and keep track of everything. And so many managers are going to relate to that. You probably have a task management tool, you have your notes on a notepad, you have the meeting notes, you have the meeting recording that you have to watch back, and all of this stuff. But when you're in a meeting, set up a nice Miro board with all of the touch points that you're going to cover, so that you are very effective and you have all of these templates already made by professionals on Miro. And this is not sponsored by Miro, by the way.
I mean, if they'd like to sponsor the podcast, we're open to conversations.
But that's I know who I'm talking to. I know the problem because I've been one of the people also that had that problem. And that video did really well because I hooked them in with a relatable issue. I talked and I was very fast in the way I talked, but also I showed. One of the things I live by, and especially that I really just don't like in the world of tech in general, is people talk so much and they don't show. That's why my strategy is always, hey, I'm flipping my phone and I'm showing you what's on my screen and how I'm doing it step by step so that you see that it's easy. Because when people see something, they can imagine in their head that something is really big as a task. But when they see it, they're like, oh my God, that's not bad, actually.
Yeah, I can do that.
It's feasible. I'm actually starting a series with rare founders of events. It's a tech roast.
Oh, I love
and
it.
founders just pitch their tech in under 3 minutes. Like they show it. They go through the onboarding journey just like they're a user, go click by, and then people vote whether they would use it or not, or ask any questions if they want. And I'm just surprised by how many founders are like, oh my God, like why aren't we demoing our products?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. We should be probably doing that right now. Yeah. So to your point on what makes content viral, educating, entertaining, or relatable. And if you have educational content, I relate them each.
That's so helpful because I always think we try and do educational content and our focus is on making them relatable. But I've never thought of it in that sense of that relatability first. Love that.
And entertaining. Yes, we work and it's very serious, but at the end of the day, we're young, we're living our lives. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
So,
true.
You know, just bring it out. Authenticity, that fun that keeps us going to do what we want to do on a daily basis.
Can I ask something that is entirely me projecting?
Sure.
But I feel guilty sometimes when I make a reel that is funny.
Right.
Because I'm like, this isn't real work. Real double pun intended. You know, like I've sat here, I'm imagining my boyfriend coming in and I'm miming to a song. I'm like, oh, this isn't real work. Did you ever get, like, is that just me? Or did you ever, no, never got it?
Yeah, I got it. I get it all the time.
Interesting.
And the more I grow, the more I question myself. I'm like, oh my God, why am I not doing the content I used to do 3 months ago or 6 months ago? Why is it that I am changing my persona just because I gained some kind of following or extra community? But the reason they followed me is because my authentic self showed up, because I was fun to watch and and they loved having me on their screen, and I was occupying a space that, I mean, they gave me the attention, and I want to honor that in a way that helps them, but also brings some joys into their lives. And I'm like, why am I not doing that anymore? Why am I taking myself too seriously?
And also to your point, and I tell founders all the time, but I'm sometimes very guilty of not doing, like, it should be fun for us. Why is me having fun? Like, why on earth do I beat myself up for that when that is what I would tell any founder? You should be having fun, but as soon as I'm having, oh, how do you know, all these narratives kick in, the imposter syndrome, everything kicks in, like, oh, who do I think I am? Who am I trying to be? Everyone's going to look at me and think, oh my God, she's trying to be an influencer. So embarrassing. All of this stuff.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. I think everyone is in their own bubble. Everyone has the spotlight on themselves. They are not concerned with what you do or what I'm doing. So why should we care? You just test it out, put it out there in a respectable and honorable manner, and just be yourself.
And I do think we really need that fun, because the other thing we talked about is, as a founder in the early stages, everyone, like, it's glamorized, but also like how many hats you're wearing. Can you talk a little bit to that and your early stage having to flip and learn every role and be everything for the company? Can you talk a little bit to that?
I think founders mostly find it embarrassing to talk about how much struggle they're going through, as if it's, oh, if I am working too hard and I haven't had my breakthrough yet and my business is not doing as well, then I shouldn't look like I'm struggling too much. No, it's so common. The founder of OpenAI was struggling for so long, and he himself said it in an interview recently. He was like, we were being a joke. We were being laughed at by every person who was serious in tech in the early stages, and they've tried so many products before they got a breakthrough. That's every successful founder I've ever spoke to. They're like, we tried for 5, 6, 7 years, and now we have 60, 70 million ARR, and now we're going to do this, and now we're going to IPO. But yes, of course, like, it is all about persistence. And if you don't want to share that part of how the struggle is, that's fine. But we can't deny that it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
We are all struggling
100%.
at this stage. And it's fun and it's good. It's okay. We're doing it. We're trying to better ourselves in the world and make something into reality that doesn't exist. So why would we be embarrassed or ashamed of that?
100%.
You know?
And I think you're so right. We need to talk about it more, because every time someone shares candidly how hard they found it, someone feels less alone.
Exactly. Yeah. I cried twice this week, but I am so productive. I had an app crash. My accountant was on my back. I gained weight. I haven't seen my family in so long. And it's just been a really tough past couple of months. But I am still loving it. Like, I wouldn't change anything. We don't really share these tough moments with each other. We share the successes. Everyone is on LinkedIn is like, oh my God, I just got this promotion. Oh my God, I just got raised. I'm going to this event and this was amazing. I'm like, tell me on the last time you probably worked until 2 a.m. and then didn't sleep and then almost burnt out because of how much coffee you drink, or tell me about those times. And I think people are starting a little bit to get more real. I don't know if you saw this, but this was hilarious. Yesterday, someone shared on LinkedIn, I proposed to my wife, and this is what it taught me about B2B sales.
Someone put it in the chat we were in, and it was a photo of the proposal.
Yeah.
Like, what? I couldn't tell if it was a parody or not.
I mean, that's LinkedIn.
I couldn't bring myself to check because I just didn't want. I was like, this is probably real.
Yeah, that's LinkedIn for you.
You're right. It's all such a filter.
Yeah. That's true. I think our users and the target audience that you are trying to help and you're building a solution for is going to appreciate that hustle. So if you want to make a day in the life founder content, do it. And if you're having a shit day and a failure, do it. I think failure nowadays is much more accepted. And especially in the founding communities, like, no one is going to judge you for not having succeeded on something. It's okay. Share it. It just makes you more of who you are, and it's part of your journey. It's okay. Just be you.
And I think also, especially when you can learn from it, right? If you just failed and you didn't learn anything from it, cool. But if you can be relatable, be honest, and maybe it's not immediate. Maybe on the day you share like, oh my God, I feel like I'm really messing up today. I feel like everything is going wrong. And then a week later you talk about, okay, actually, here's what I've taken away. Maybe it's not immediate. I think sometimes the challenge is people wait until they've got all the lessons to do the sharing, and then it feels less relatable.
Yeah, that's true. I was talking to an angel investor the other day, and I was telling her, I feel like I am too fake when I'm pitching. I am not being myself. I feel like I'm not being taken very seriously as a female sole founder in tech that's also managed to accidentally become an influencer.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes the way I dress, I just started doubting my language. I speak 4 languages really well, and in the pitches sometimes comes out too much, or sometimes I swear one time I was like, slay, because one of the guys was like, I really like your idea. I was like, slay.
I love that.
But then I was like, I am so embarrassed. I did that really bad. Maybe I need a speaking coach. I'm not being taken very seriously. And she was like, okay, stop. No, you're freaking out right now. It's okay to feel this, but that's what makes you you. And maybe if anyone of those didn't take you seriously, that's not the right fit for you in the first place.
I think it comes back to the authenticity point, because actually I was at a pitch event yesterday and one of the founders had come on stage, and the words used afterwards like, oh, it was so brilliantly theatrical. But actually the way he was doing it, everything was a punchline, and it did make him less serious. And actually I fed back to him afterwards. I said, look, I'm going to disagree with everyone else who said, I love how theatrical you're being. I actually think you're not going to get taken seriously, but it's because it feels like a performance. And then in the questions, I was like, you're coming across as incredibly capable, as really switched on. Like, how do we keep your passion? And he then said, oh yeah, I wrote the pitch in ChatGPT, and every line it wrote, you had to deliver like a punchline, otherwise it kind of fell flat. And I was like, but we need your voice. This is the problem. You can't outsource some of this. Some of it you can, but you've got to let yourself shine through. And the thing I'd say to you, if I was coaching you after that session, if you came to me as a pitch coach and said, oh, I need pitch coaching around this, I'd be like, well, are they taking you less seriously? And actually, is that a problem based on who you're trying to get investment from and what you're trying to get investment for. And this ability to actually tap into popular culture is what's growing you. And if they don't get that, actually, that's not you being inauthentic. That's not you putting on a front on stage to be more charismatic. That's who you are.
Yeah.
That's their problem.
Yeah, that's true.
A point I wanted to pick up on surrounding this, and obviously your whole product is about helping us navigate what should we be using, what should we be using together to do things better. You're a solo founder. How are you actually managing every role? And I think something I'm always really curious of is what are the things that you're outsourcing that at the beginning you didn't know you could outsource? And what are the things you thought you could outsource and found out you couldn't?
Some of the things that I thought I could outsource are development. I use a lot of the AI co-pilots for development, for software development, and they're just not great. Honestly, they are good at adding comments to code or helping you figure out a solution. It's like a math problem, but then that's it. They're not going to do much. A lot of what I did in the beginning, because Tech Bible did start as an agency model.
Yeah.
I still do some of the work with the clients, not as a consulting basis anymore, fully focused on tech, but that's how it started, because the SaaS companies will come to me and they're like, hey, help us sell this better and help people discover it, the people who will get the most amount of value, because we don't want them to churn. And that was my promise. So I did all of the tasks that Tech Bible now does manually and slowly started to automate them.
Genuinely, was it helpful to learn what customers didn't care about? Because I think one of the things I often see is founders want to automate from the beginning. And I feel like maybe you missed some learnings in there.
Yeah. And also building a product since the beginning is not great. Just try to make revenue without anything. Because if you are solving a problem that is already there, a tech solution is probably not going to help them that much. It can save you something. But you can have an MVP with just Excel sheets and type forms and stuff, and you can still do it.
Yes. Yeah. Please do this.
Yeah. And so the product that I build now solves a problem for me that if I found another tool that does this, I wouldn't build it. I would genuinely wouldn't. I wanted to just find a way to show people what's on my tab and the URLs that I come across in a way that is in my profile, and I can share it with them and it's available for them in the public. So they can see my tech stack, they can copy it, they can use it, find out all of the information that I know about that product. There isn't a place for it. So I was like, let's learn how to make a Chrome extension, and then let's build one that actually copies it directly from their tab and it adds it to their profile. And then that refers the tool to me as well to see, okay, and now this is my number one source of finding out about new software, by the way. It's when someone adds it, all of the beta testers that we had, they would add something from their profile and I'm like, okay, let's test this one. Let's see if it's actually good or not, and then add it to Tech Bible for now. But most of the work with the brands and the outreach was done manually initially. And now I just have AI automation tools that I use with specific formulas. Like even for my newsletter, I used to collect everything. Now I know exactly, I built like the formula or what the first part needs to say, second part needs to say, where to get that data, where to set it up. It's all set. Content that I make on what's trending, what's not trending. I get this automated email from a bot that goes and searches, okay, what's trending that day for these specific keywords, and then sends it back to me in an email. So I know what content I need to be, or what angle I need to focus my content on that day. I did that for everything, like the review blogs that we do, the startups that raise that I know are the perfect fit for me. Also a specific formula. That's how I get them automatically via my email delivered. So I know I need to do 5 to 10 outreach to founders a day. That's my goal. And I get it immediately to my email instead of me going out and looking for them, because it already kickstarts the task. So I'm motivated to do it because I have to go look. There are so many of these little things that I had an assistant doing them. Even if she's not there, I still get the work, the output. Yeah, you have to have your processes in place. Do them manually first, and then you will find tools that will help you get them done in a more automated and efficient way.
And I guess also curious, before you automate it, what hats did you find hardest or most frustrating to have to wear in the beginning stages?
I think managing is one of the first things that I was like, whoa, this is hard. The one-to-ones, doing the follow-ups, and all of the work that comes from having people work with you is also in itself, for me, was just very heavy. I'm like, I am an efficient person, or I try to be, and I can move quickly, and I like to move that freely as well between the tasks. But if I do this task, but that's gonna hurt someone's feelings that I intervened and did that, or maybe I should have mentioned this during our stand-up.
Yeah.
I should have done that, and then it all starts piling up. And in the beginning, I did not know how to manage their tasks, keep track of their hours, help them even become more efficient.
Yeah.
But then we adopted ClickUp, and I love that tool. It's so good. It's insane.
And were there any other things that you had to work on, I guess, in like a non-automated way, but speaking to founders recently actually about personal development, especially around like management? I remember actually being on a panel a few weeks ago, and they asked the panel, how do you all look after yourselves? And like everyone laughed and handed the mics to each other. No one wanted to answer the question. How do you do that? And is that something, I know that's a work in progress, but like, how are you developing as a founder to be able to do a better job?
Yeah, I have mentors. That's one thing that you can never automate. I mean, you can build your own custom GPTs to help you with stuff. I literally have like a custom GPT for everything, from marketing, HR, finance. But I have a chief revenue officer, but operates as a mentor. So he helps me. Sometimes I lose focus because I'm so excited about my ideas.
Yeah.
And also just the content, because it has been the driver of revenue. So sometimes I forget about the product, the raising, following up with investors. And I lose 2 weeks just really deep into the designs and development. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry for the use of that word. But he's like bringing me back to that focus.
Yeah.
I also have a coach who also was my psychologist, but he's also a businessman with a lot of experience. So he helps me on both of those aspects at the same time. And then I do my own personal goals that I have, which is I need to work X amount of months outside of London so that I'm recentered. I need to spend X amount of time with my family. I need to work out, spending time with people that I love, especially my brother, my sister, and a couple of friends. And those are well defined. And I make sure that I plan it all in my calendar. And if there's one advice that I can give to anyone who started the business, use your calendars wisely. I love time boxing things.
Yeah.
I think it helps me a lot. When I wake up, if I didn't plan the week before on Sunday, when I'm going to work out, what did I dedicate some time to talking, to networking actually with people, talking to my team, talking to my family. Everything is well organized, so I'm using my time efficiently. Otherwise, I'll just lose myself in whatever flow I'm in at that moment.
Yeah. It's on my personal goals to start doing that more because I find that really hard. But I think it's with the weeks I get it right, it's like an exponential difference in where I am,
right?
My creativity, everything else.
Yeah. One thing as well is be part of communities. Love the people that I'm now able to surround myself with. I've always been part of a community, but not to this level of closeness. So I think that helps a lot. This week when I was not in a great mood, people try to lift you up, and you're like, oh, but it will pass at the end of the day. It's just that reminder that you can't operate 100% every day. Sometimes you will just do 20, sometimes you will do 220.
And I love there's like a meme that goes around pretty regularly around if today you're at 50% of capacity and you give all of that 50%, you operated at 100% of like what you had to give.
Yeah, exactly. But persistence is the most important thing. I think you can have talent, doesn't matter. You can have skill, you can be geniusly creative and smart, but all of those things don't matter if you're not persistent and just show up the next day and do it, and then reinsure that mission, mind yourself of the focus. Keep others around you aware of your focus, so they also remind you. Build that ecosystem.
Yeah. And I think the balance I always find really hard to get with founders is I don't think you can start a startup without persistence. It's like, it's just not possible, because there's going to be so many negative signals along the way that you are going to just have to learn from and weather or ignore. And you're going to have to get quite good at working out which one's the right answer. But I think also I wish more founders knew when not to persist as well, because it's not always the right thing for you to be doing.
Yeah.
It's not always the right time.
Yeah. And I'm only aware of it now, to be honest. Let's be fully transparent. When I was like, oh, we're stopping my Finder, and my previous co-founder got like a nice job offer from Google, and he was like, Rita, I'm going to take it. I got randomly pitched this Y Combinator startup that had huge amounts of funding, but using the same software, but for different use case, and they monetized it heavily with huge government contracts. And we got these amazing offers, and we're like, oh my God, this is it. We're going to stop. Yeah. And it was so sad. It was really dark and it was really sad. And I was like, no, this has to keep going. Until this day, I don't want to change my LinkedIn thing just so it's still there. And the app is still on the App Store operating. And I still sometimes talk to people and like the support chat. And I just can't let go because it was hard. And it still is sometimes. But looking back, I was definitely not the right person for that job. And it was just not the right time.
What do you think made letting it go? And you mentioned you still haven't been able to. Or what still makes the idea of letting it go hard? How tied into your sense of self is it? Really curious.
It's not my sense of self. It was an idea and a product that was ahead of its time. And we managed to make it work with the tech that we had. We literally were going into people's houses and taking pictures of items and then sending them to MTurk, like the Amazon marketplace, to have people label what that thing is so we can train our own AI model to do it. At that time, there was no generative AI that can just prompt and then it would generate me 60,000 images. It was such a good product that we spent so much time and passion on. And it was also the product that got me into software development.
Yeah.
It was my first out of uni winning like my first £10,000 in a university hackathon, and those moments that are attached to it that I just don't want to let go of, because they were good times. There were some really bad times, but my advisor for my Finder was an engineer at NASA. I would have never met that person or had the opportunities it gave me. That project opened for me were huge, and I still just don't want to let go of, oh, that's in the past.
Yeah.
But I know I have to. But I mean, I don't talk much about it anymore, but like, you know, still there.
Coming back to that kind of mentor piece, I actually often get asked this by founders. How do you find mentors? Like, how do you get them to agree to mentor you? How have you built those relationships? How much has it been organic? How much has it been very deliberate paths?
Most of it is organic. I don't think I've ever had to go look. Sometimes I do when I'm really stuck in a problem and I go look for people. It's still a very hard process. I don't know if you noticed, but there's all these mentoring platforms that I just can't seem to trust them. I need someone who makes content
well on the tech.
No. They always have been organic, and I always led with value. Either there's something I offer to help them with. Usually that's how it starts. I would not just say, hey, you have an amazing profile, I think it would help for you to mentor me. I'm just like, hey, I saw you just built this and I do this. Can I help you? And they would usually not say no to free help. And then it starts from there. I really appreciate value-driven people. People, they just give you things because they genuinely want to help and spread their mission. Most people return it back. Yeah. And you have something to give. You have your time, you have all of the knowledge, the experience, your background. You have all of that to give. So just reach out to the people that you think it will help them one way or another, and that's how you'll get them to help you. I am an immigrant. I'm from Morocco. I lived in the US. I lived in France. I lived in the Netherlands. I've been all over the world. When I came to the UK after I graduated, and I started my Finder, I had to take that job with the YC company. But also COVID affected them. So they were about to raise Series B, but they didn't. So that meant I couldn't stay in the UK. I was like, oh my God, I just lived like 5 years in this country.
Yeah.
And I could go anywhere else. It's okay. I've had plans to stay in Bali for another 3 months or go somewhere else. And I didn't mind. I was like, oh, maybe I'll go back to New York. I shared this with a friend, and someone was like, hey, have you heard of Global Talent Visa? And I was like, no. What is it about? And explained to me the process. I'm like, you need 3, 4, 5 recommendations from established founders in the UK. Where am I going to get that? I've only met like a couple. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But people literally volunteered to help me. They were like, oh, we'll write you recommendation letters. Yeah. And for nothing. But these are just people that I chose throughout the years to help one way or another. And I didn't expect much in return.
Yeah.
But then they were there. And I have this thing where I actually don't ask for help. I don't know if you get that too, but I find it really hard to ask for help.
Oh, I'm shameless. I ask everyone for help.
Oh
I asked you before we started.
That's amazing.
I mean, you've already agreed to sit down and talk through my podcast strategy. So, I'm shameless. I will ask for help.
That is a great and amazing skill to have. I find it absolutely horrendous to ask for help.
Maybe I can help you.
That's amazing.
Ask for help. This is my value add. I've been waiting for it.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I know where it's coming from, and I did so many therapy sessions on it, but I know a lot of people will resonate with this. So if you are like me, someone who doesn't want to ask for help, but you have some sort of value to provide to others, just do it. And don't expect anything in return. You will find them at the end of the line.
I love that.
Yeah.
And also ask for help. Okay. We're going to work on this.
Yeah.
Get ready to see some serious help asking on Rita's socials soon.
Yay.
We're going to have to wrap up soon.
Oh my God. This already like 6:20.
I don't know where the time's gone. Okay. 2 final questions. Ask every guest. 1, what is the thing you're proudest of as a founder?
What I'm doing. I'm proud of how many people it has helped so far. I am amazed. It helps founders reach product market fit faster just because they're got so much great response from their target users or didn't and saw that in the comments, analyzed it, decided to pivot. And the people that are becoming a lot more productive by the recommendations that I give them and saving so much time to...
Okay, final question. And it doesn't need to be legal advice.
Okay.
But what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given as a founder? Protect your IP early or...
I should have done that probably. Focus. And I love to hear it every week when I meet up with my mentors and they're like, did you focus on one feature? Test it. Repeat the process. Make it better. Focus on one revenue stream. Focus on one channel. And I live by sprints and growth experimentation. So every week for me, it's like, I know this week is going to be product week. Next week is going to be revenue and all of the accounting admin stuff that I hate doing. Next week is going to be marketing. So I'm going to push for more for content events. So have your main focus, but then there are sub elements in each that you can target in different sprints. That's how you reach results. You can't jump from one thing to the other and then expect to have some kind of breakthrough. Try to focus as much as you can. It's the hardest thing you could do as a founder.
Literally. And I think the rates are pretty high as well for ADHD and founders. As someone who is ADHD and struggles with focus in general, let alone in a company where you're wearing every hat going and you're trying to achieve so much so fast and there's always someone telling you should be doing something differently. It's super hard, but I think it's amazing advice.
Yeah. Focus, for like a week, that's what I'm saying, or like a day. on a problem, but not the whole thing. Definitely, I love being... as someone who goes from one field to the other, where I'm not an expert in none. I love jumping from one thing to the other. But when it comes to goals, that's a different thing. That's a different story.
I love that. And having the discipline to know what you should and shouldn't be focusing on.
Yeah. And don't take everybody's opinions.
Yes.
Believe in yourself.
I love that.
Let's turn it into an ASMR podcast.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we'll have some nails going on. Drink a little bit of water. Oh, hello.
Listen, founders, do not listen to anyone but yourself. You have to be very demanding with what you want. That's how you achieve it. I don't know if you've seen Ben Francis talk and his advice, the CEO of Gymshark.
Yeah.
But he was very determined at an early stage to get the product to how he wanted it to be. Sometimes people can give you advice and tell you how to do things, but at the end of the day, if you want to do something and build it that's different, listen to yourself and trust your intuition. Okay? Ciao.
What a note to end on. Some extra ASMR and a beautiful piece of advice. Rita, thank you so much for coming on. You've been a complete rock star.
We could have lasted another 2 hours.
We could. And if you're not already following, obviously there will be links in the show notes. Make sure you are, because there's so much incredible content. And if you listen to this podcast, you are going to love the Tech Bible.
Thank you, Hattie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Before you go, please do take a minute to follow so you never miss another episode. We have some incredible founders coming up. And I always love to hear what resonates with listeners. So do drop us a direct message on Instagram @NotMyFirstGuest with any moments that meant something to you, ideas for future episodes, or your own entrepreneurial stories you want to share. Until next time, happy startupping.